far bigger. The XRPL isn't just a blockchain, it's three technologies in one: a distributed payments protocol, a math-based currency, XRP, and a value agnostic global exchange. And if you've been around the XRP community long enough, you know that everyone is conspiratorial, or maybe 95% of the holders are conspiratorial in the fact that XRP is going to be the next big currency to run the world, which is really interesting and awesome if it happens. But take a look at this. So Bank XRP posted this on September 20th, 2019. Cross River Bank was Ripple's first signed bank to use Ripple protocol. And then just 3 hours ago today, and 9 hours ago prior to that, just in Elon Musk to launch X Money, which we've been following along on that. All bank accounts will be held by Cross River Bank. Now, what could this be? What kind of coincidence could this be? Could X Money use XRP for the money, or RLUSD, something attached to XRP? It's very much a possibility. Also happening now in Las Vegas, XRP Vegas, the line is absolutely huge, as you can see right here. It just keeps going on and on and on out the building. XRP Las Vegas happening this weekend. And as we talked about in the intro here, US banks are now sitting on a $413 billion in unrealized losses as of Q1 2025. And this is per the FDIC, and it's driven by rising interest rates since 2022 that devalue fixed rate bonds, especially mortgage-backed securities, as mortgage rates climbed. The chart distinguishes losses between held to maturity securities, keep until due, less immediate impact, and available for sale securities, market valued, more direct effect, with the largest drop since 2022 tied to the economic shifts like inflation and policy uncertainty. So as we can see right here, unrealized gains and losses, we were doing pretty darn well through the 2010s and 15s and then 18 and doing really, really well until 2022. We dropped off of an absolute cliff, and it's been nothing but losses ever since then. Now, if you're looking at the chart for something positive, though, we are seeing a trend back to the zero line here. It's obviously going to take some time to get back up there, but the trend is starting to move in that direction somewhat. And an interesting piece of breaking news coming out right now too, Trump admin is using Palantir's PLTR Foundry to collect and centralize Americans' data for federal agencies, potentially enhancing surveillance and creating detailed profiles from government data per NY Times. Now, this is not good. This is a horrible thing for the United States government to be collecting every piece of data from you to move forward in a surveillance state. Now, we do know that going to a digital currency is also going to help create a surveillance state, because they'll be able to watch over the money that you spend, how you spend it, and turn on and off your money depending on what they decide to use. But the fact that they're going to be tracking every single piece of you from the federal agency's data, this is pretty horrifying in reality. Also, in a major announcement today, SharpLink Gaming is going to raise $1 billion to acquire Ethereum. And if you remember what we covered just a couple of days ago, they've already made a purchase of $425 million on May 27th, signaling a strategic pivot to an Ethereum treasury strategy for the company. And in another amazing find as far as coincidences go with Ripple and the XRP community, Not Financial Advice does an amazing job of putting NFA. He says, wow, it's actually a double 589. If you guys are not following along with what's happening here, Brad Garlinghouse is currently following 589 people. Ripple, the company, is currently following 985 people, which is just the reverse of 589. But then we also know that Hidden Road, the company that Ripple recently acquired, well, guess what? Hidden Road's partners headquarters is located at 589 5th Avenue, 8th floor in New York, which their zip code is 10017. So when you put this together, it's actually a double 589. 589, 5th Avenue, 8th floor, 10017, 5th Avenue is a 5, 8th floor, 9, when you add up 10017. So you have Brad Garlinghouse of 589. You have Ripple, the XRP or X.com page rather. You have the address for Hidden Road being 589. The digits is literally, the address is 589, but it's also 5th Avenue, 8th floor, 10017. Absolutely nuts. Like, how is that coincidence possible? So on the back of that positive news for Ethereum, there's going to be a company that's going to be using it as a treasury. We also have JP Morgan saying that Ethereum's upgrade has failed to increase network activity. So we know that Ethereum recently did an upgrade. It was supposed to bring more users to the community. Unfortunately, the hype, the excitement around Ethereum is just not there at the moment. It will when it starts to pump. I still feel that it is undervalued. In fact, after these last 24, 48 hours of prices coming down for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, in the charts, Ethereum still holds the strongest pattern that we'll take a look at here in just a couple minutes when we get to the charting. If you're only here for the charting, go ahead and fast forward to the end. You can get to that. Also, when it comes to financial news, Jamie Dimon is not effing around today. He says that China is an adversary, but we might actually have an enemy within as far as the United States goes.
The biggest one, underlying both that, is the enemy within. I'm not as worried about China. China is a potential adversary. They're doing a lot of things well. They have a lot of problems. What I really worry about is us. Can we get our own act together, our own values, our own capability, our own management? What you heard today on stage was the amount of mismanagement is extraordinary, by state, by city, for pensions, and that stuff is going to kill us. And, I always get asked this question, are we going to be the reserve currency? And no, if we are not the preeminent military and the preeminent economy in 40 years, we will not be the reserve currency. That's a fact. Just read history. Now I think we will be. Warren Buffett here would tell you we're enormously resilient. I agree with that. I think this time is different. This time we have to get our act together, and we have to do it very quickly.
As one of the most prominent bankers in the United States, JP Dimon usually knows and usually is right on the things he talks about. So we, as the United States, needs to get our act together. We need to pass those Doge cuts and much more, rein in the spending, and create more GDP for the United States. And just in, U.S. to increase sanctions on Chinese tech targeting subsidiaries. So as you know, as of recently, the United States dropped the extremely high tariffs off China. I think it was 125%. Then it went to 90%. It was down to 30%. Now they are going to increase sanctions again on Chinese tech because due to the fact that they did not properly follow instructions on the previous reduction of sanctions, Trump then said, okay, well, they're not doing what they're supposed to do, so we're going to turn up the volume on them again. Now, next up, we have the Supercore PCE turns negative for the first time since COVID. Fed now dangerously behind on the rate cut curve. Now, as you know, Donald Trump has been telling Jerome Powell for the last 3 months, I believe it is, that he needs to cut rates. He keeps calling him too late Powell, right? He was too late to raise rates during the struggle area. And now he's being too late to reduce rates. And as we can see right here, we should definitely be able to now start easing those rates as far as the Fed funds rates. So as you saw in the upcoming week, Jerome Powell will be speaking on Monday or Tuesday. I'd have to go back and check. And maybe he will finally reduce the rates from 4.5 to 4.25, or even an amazing move down to 4% for the Fed funds rate. In a crazy turn of events, UK MP Emma Reynolds says the UK government has no plans to adopt a strategic Bitcoin reserves, citing Bitcoin's volatility as inconsistent with foreign exchange reserve investment principles. And then speaking of more conspiracies and riddles when it comes to Ripple, we also have the fact that Ripple's X.com page just put this as their background, which now has the XRP community scrambling to figure out what the heck does this mean. Anders says, did Ripple just go full Riddler? New header image on X account shows a euro receipt, a clock, and a Wall Street bull statue. Also, Ripple following 985, Garlinghouse following 589. And Ripple just released a video saying it's happening. So very exciting stuff going on, very conspiratorial stuff, which is always fun. Very fun to dig into these riddles and see if anything comes about them. And speaking of very fun and very funny, I've got something that I've got to show you. Now, as you know, the United States has some crazy stuff that goes on from time to time.
Want to know what I found out the other day?
What do you found out the other day?
Did you know the entire Earth is $315 trillion in debt?
Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
Who do they owe money to?
Bro, who are they getting money from?
It blows my mind that first off, you have everything on the planet here to live for free.
You literally have everything you need.
And then you invent a system
Uh-huh.
that creates a deterioration of your own resources.
You created a store of value that's literally storing less and less value
Every day.
Every day.
And you're increasing your technology, and yet somehow you still owe money to someone, and it's $315 trillion. There's not enough paper to print that much cash. Why are they doing it?
Dude, Earth is like the worst meme coin. It's the worst.
It got rugged.
So the aliens watching this season of Planet Earth, they say that Earth got rugged. That's pretty hilarious there. So before we jump into the charts, let's go ahead and find out about this FTX payout. So as we can see here, FTX creditor breakdown, FTX pay $5 billion on the 30th of May, which is today. So most of these large accounts, and this is another conspiracy that I was talking about yesterday in the video, are the big major players, the huge whales out there, purposely dropping and creating an extreme dip to pick it up because they know that they're going to have $5 billion worth of liquidity that they're going to be able to inject back into the market. They just wanted to be able to buy them at a lower price. So claims that were greater than $50,000 start to be paid out at 72.5% petition value. Claims that are greater than 50,000 of the 10 billion, there was 11,000 claims, and claims that are greater than $1 million, there was actually 1.1 thousand claims. So claims from 1 million to 10 million, the average account size was $3 million. Claims that are 10 million or larger, the average account size was $29 million. That is absolutely crazy. Approximate numbers here. So you have bucket people from 0 to 10,000, 10 to 50,000, 50 to 100,000, 100 to 1 million, 1 million to 10 million, and 10 million plus.